Waycross presents an election forum for Issue 11, Proposed Tax Levy Renewal for the Village of Greenhills. When voters go to the polls on November 3rd, they will be asked to consider the following issue: a renewal of a tax for the benefit of the Village of Greenhills for recreational purposes at a rate not exceeding 7/10 mil for each $1 evaluation, which amounts to 7 cents for each $100 evaluation for 5 years, commencing in 2020, first due in calendar year 2021.
To yet another election forum at Waycross Community Media. This forum is for the Village of Greenhills Recreation Levy. I'm Dana Gagnon, Government Programming Coordinator for Waycross Community Media, and I have here with me Hunter Ellis, who is a student at Xavier University. Thanks for joining me.
So glad to be here, yeah.
Excellent. We also have with us in the studio Natasha Metz, who is a Greenhills Village Council member and the Recreation Chair of the Council. Thank you so much for being here to help us understand a little bit more detail about the levy.
Of course.
So we're going to start with a 2-minute opening statement, and you can tell us a little bit about the levy. But first of all, if you are watching this live on September 30th, you will be able to email your questions to me right here in the studio to this iPad, and I will be able to ask Natasha your questions. If you're watching this program live, the email address will appear at the bottom of the screen in just a few minutes, so keep an eye out for that. If you want to participate, you must be a Greenhills resident to ask a question about this Greenhills levy. When you send your email, please include your name, also your street address and town. Now, we will only use your first name and your street on the air. We are not going to give all your personal details, but that's how we know we're getting real questions from real Greenhills residents about the Greenhills levy. So let's start by having you tell us a little bit about this recreation levy.
Okay, well, it's very simple. It's a renewal levy. There is not going to be any raise of taxes. It's going to be the same amount for the levy as it was previously. It's, in fact, is the only source of funding that we have for all of our recreation activities within the Village of Greenhills. There goes towards various activities and aspects of the village. For instance, the past levy was used for sidewalk repairs in Big Burley Park. There was partial funding for the new restroom facility, a whole concept plan for the new town park that I have with me, and then some things that the new levy will go towards is construction and improvements of the actual town park, return of events post-COVID once we're allowed to have them again, as well as addition of some new activities that we're coming up with for the residents to partake in.
Okay, so you've covered a lot there that I think we're going to ask a little bit more about some of those. I think we're going to revisit some of that. But one thing I'm hearing is that things like sidewalks and restroom facilities, so when I hear recreation levy, and I just think of games and playful things, it's also some very practical parts of the Village of Greenhills.
Right. Recreation doesn't only involve the activities that we put on, the events and such. It also takes into account the capital expenditures towards recreation facilities that are provided, such as the pickleball courts that went up and are being put together in the actual location of the town park.
Okay, so that's important because at council meetings we hear people say, what do we have that brings people to the village? And this recreation levy is part of what makes those things possible.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So why is Greenhills asking for this levy right now?
We're asking it because the term is up for the previous recreation levy, and so we need to have the renewal so that we can continue to provide these services and events and the aspects of recreation for the village.
I think you covered this a couple of these questions. I know you covered really briefly in your statement, but I just want to make sure we hit them again. When was the last time Greenhills asked for this levy? Is this different from? We saw a road improvement levy, but is this is separate from that, or is this related to that?
No, it's different. So the previous levy went from 2015 to 2020, and then the new levy will go from 2020 to 2024.
Okay.
And what does the recreation levy cover?
So it covers a variety of capital expenditures and events, activities that we provide for the village. I can go through more of things that was covered in the previous levy. We put together concept plans for various parks around town, paid for certain park maintenance items such as the playground mulch, equipment replacement, supported some pool operations, resurfaced the old tennis courts, purchased the pickleball equipment. It also pays for the one-call system that a lot of residents use to keep up to date with what's going on in the village. And it also funded events such as the annual Community Day at the pool, Harvest Festival, and Light Up Greenhills.
Can you tell me more about the one-call system? Because that's not just a recreational thing. That serves more
Right,
of
yes.
Greenhills.
So it's funded through recreation. However, it covers all aspects of the village. If there is an update for a service, the services department that they need to get out, or if there is a village mandate that needs to go out, or any sort of update that we need to send villagers that we want to let them know is coming out, we do a one call, and you can actually sign up for that through the village, and anybody who is a resident can sign up for it. You get a call that lets you know what is the news and keeps you up to date. But yes, it covers any aspect of the village that needs to get out to the residents.
Okay, so that's a service if people don't love email or they don't go to websites, it'll come to their phone.
Yeah.
That's good to know. How long, I think you mentioned this, how long will this levy last this time?
5 years.
Okay, so the same as
Yeah.
it did before.
And why do we need the levy right now with many people facing hard times with COVID-19?
Well, we need it because we're coming up to the renewal, so it's on the timeline to keep going. And in order to be able to provide those events once the guidelines and restrictions are lifted, we need the funding to put those events on and to support the improvements, especially with the town park and things that are coming up.
We've talked about the town park twice, we've heard about it. My next question is really about what sort of future events will the levy cover? So tell us a little bit about this. I see you have an illustration with you, so hopefully we can see a little bit of that.
I do.
On the
I'll
camera.
try to hold it steady if you could zoom into it at all. I'm not sure if you'll be able to get it clearly, but we have created a new design for what was the golf course. The utilization of the golf course went down, and so over the years we've kept track of revenue and the benefit to the village, and we decided that the area was better spent to reach more residents through a town park. And so this is the schematic that has been come up with for what we're planning to have in the new park. It's going to take advantage of the natural beauty and the terrain of the site. It's going to be an amenity for all of Greenhills. The plan includes a walking system with both a short and long loop winding around the picturesque property. It's going to be all accessible by wheelchair. Pathways that'll connect to the east side of Greenhills to the village center. There's going to be a pond, natural prairie habitat, amphitheater, community gardens, and so much more.
Are there other places that Greenhills could get money for these things other than the levy?
Well, in fact, the funding for the town park comes from other sources that have actually stopped their operations as a result of COVID. So this is going to help put us in line for the town park, but the majority of funding is going to come for other locations.
Okay, that's good to know. There's a lot of people ask questions. Is this the only way? Are you looking at all possible sources? So
Yes.
that's always another question that we have from residents. Let's talk what the numbers are. How much is Greenhills asking for?
So the estimated revenue generated by the recreation levy is going to be $36,631. The estimated annual cost to homeowners per $100,000 evaluation is going to be about $20.83 a year.
And why should residents support this levy?
Well, if you want to see the growth of the Recreation Committee and being able to provide different events and capital expenditures to the village, then definitely, by all means, put it forward. I've got quite a few ideas for the future for events and activities to provide to the residents to improve the quality of life.
I think you've given us a good idea of this, but if the levy didn't pass, what do you expect residents will see in the coming years?
If the levy does not pass, we won't have any funding for events, so it's pretty much going to be the same thing that we're seeing now under COVID restrictions. I won't be able to provide any activities or funding or whatever, so there's not going to be any of the new movie nights that I'm looking forward to hosting, or the food truck events that I'm looking to bring to the village, and possibly a spring festival. There's a lot of things in the works that I'm hoping for that this recreation levy could support.
Okay, so I hear that answer kind of leads me to my next question is, what will residents get to look forward to seeing if the levy does pass?
Definitely. So the things that we're planning to use the levy funds on is, like I mentioned, construction of improvements to the town park, which includes some adult swings that we're planning to put up. I think you guys have all seen the larger swings. They're kind of like porch swings. We're going to be putting those up. Return of events after COVID restrictions. We're going to be coordinating some park signage throughout the village, any additional amenities that we can come up with, and addition of new activities, such as what I was talking about, the food trucks, possibly doing a sort of mini festival in the spring. We're always coming up with ideas, and we're always asking for ideas. So if anybody has anything they would like to see, feel free to bring it to me.
Okay, so we can leave with the question of imagining days after COVID, when we don't have to be so separated in studios and at recreational events.
Exactly. Yes.
We can think towards that moment. We're actually getting close to the end of our slot. Do you have any closing thoughts or ideas you'd like to leave the residents of Greenhills with?
I would just request that you think long and hard about putting forward your vote for this levy. There's so much that I would like to provide for the village through these funds, and I'm open to ideas. If you have anything that you're looking for in the recreation committee, bring it to me. I'm willing to approach any subject.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being willing to come in here and talk a little bit about what is the recreational levy, what does it fund, and what do you hope for it to fund in the future. That's really helpful. And I appreciate it because there aren't a lot of places for voters to get information about every single thing on their ballot. So
yeah, definitely.
Really appreciate it. I also want to thank you for joining us this evening. That means you're going to be an informed voter when you vote on your ballot. Now, if you need more information than this when you vote in the upcoming election, you can watch all of our election forums on Waycross.tv at our website, www.waycross.tv. You can also go to the Hamilton County Board of Elections website, which is votehamiltoncounty.org. And when you're on their website, you can see if you're registered to vote. You can see where your precinct is, which is where you need to vote. You can look at a sample ballot so you know ahead of time what you'll be voting on. And if you go there before October 5th, you can find out how to register to vote. Remember that you need to register by October 5th. You can vote in person on November 3rd. If you're going to do early voting, that starts October 6th. I'm Dana Gagnon, Waycross Government Programming Coordinator. I'm here with Hunter from Xavier University. And thank you for joining us. We will see you at the polls on November 3rd.
Waycross takes no position on candidates or issues. We conduct these forums so that our viewers may be better informed voters for the November 3rd elections.